Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With Rostermania continuing onwards, we have a rather good idea what the top teams are going to be looking like for next season, but the bottom 6 teams are still very unclear at the moment, and apparently, according to Clayster and Eggs, some highly questionable roster building tactics are going to get employed yet again this upcoming season, with the Lionman Cards coming to the fore, heavily implying that many of the decision makers for these rosters actually have no real idea what they're doing in terms of building a good roster. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. First of all, wanted to run through the second set of players in the top 20 of the Challengers players that the boys have been putting together. It's always difficult to vote on these, and I know people give their rankings and people are always going to disagree, but it's Maple 15th, Panda, Denza, Yeez, and then Metals, and then down to top 6, we get a lot of the Awobobs guys. Of course, aBeZy is going to be in the top 5 somewhere or other, but aBeZy, Cobra, Snoopy, of course, from Boston last year, Harry as well, and then Linz, who's been causing quite a lot of noise around a potential LA Thieves spot if they wanted to get aBeZy and Linz off that roster there next season. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen. Thieves might change their mind on some of the things we talked about yesterday, but Ghosty +3 would be the theoretical idea, with Afro and Cammy likely coming along for the ride with JoeDeceives, but certainly it could all change on that side of things. Also wanted to congratulate Nachard. Him and his wife got married yesterday. This is a picture from Hex from the wedding and all this other stuff. I thought what was actually, no, I kind of already spoiled it, but I thought this is the funniest thing. It's a great picture of the two together, but if you scroll down, which I already kind of spoiled, you find the Juvie can sitting over the table. So, you know, good job from Nature, right, getting the product placement in there with his own wedding, which I thought was fantastic. So yeah, good to see. Congratulations to everyone. And also there was this, right, so it's not just Nature that's getting married, it's Bants as well. And if you guys like aren't familiar with the concept of a stag do, it's like a, I think in maybe they call it a bachelor party in the States or something, but basically the idea is you get all the groomsmen or all your boys just to dress up in a ridiculous way. So effectively it's trying to make fun of the main man, the groom, who is Bants in this case, so he's dressed differently to the rest of the boys. And I mean, just look at this image. It doesn't need any more explanation. This is Adam Bants actually on the right hand side, who initially posted this. I met him, I think, in Anaheim several years ago when you know, 2019 and all that. They went out there for Bants when he played that event. And look at the other faces we have. I don't recognize everyone here, but of course we've got Joe Pinnington on the right hand side to a lot of the boys that are currently working at Toronto. This is Flux, I think, right, from Toronto. This is B-Spot Josh. We've got Mad Cat here, Hixie, Cammy. I don't recognise everyone, but of course on the left-hand side we then have Insight with Marky B and Jerd on the far left. So, I mean, this is just a pretty iconic image. I don't recognise every face, but still, from a Connie Sports perspective, this is definitely up there. So I hope that didn't poison your eyes too much for the morning. Quickly on Arcetes as well, because he's been tweeting a few things lately. Difficult to read into exactly what this means, but he did reply to this guy, still got a job, man, let's go. And then Blackout or whatever, at me, and then Arcetes like, so weird, I'm off the scene, get me out of here. So I don't know if this really means anything, still got a job, man, just because there's been a lot of questions around Arcetes and what they're doing with Los Angeles Grillers, in the same way that the Boston Breach, they've not released Beans yet, they've put him to restricted free agency, so he's still under contract, but they would obviously sell him because they've got their ARs set now, Slasher and Priestahh for next season on the Boston side. Whether Arcetes is in a similar position, because he was also on a 2+1, but the latest rumor was about a week or so ago that Arcetes no longer under contract with Los Angeles Grillers. So if that's the case, then he could walk and go away, but Arcetes is saying he's still got a job, so either that means he's found a new team, or it means that Grillers aren't letting him go and he's going to stay around there next season. So big questions on that one for next year. Difficult to say what direction that's going to go in, but he didn't have the greatest year at all, and yeah, his Lionman card certainly represented that fact. And this is where we get into these Lionman card discussions. So all the time over the last several years, Lionman's made these cards for years. Since back in I don't know when he made the first ones. Maybe, I don't know, Black Ops 4 for sure was a little bit early days. But I think even before that, we're talking late CWL, he started making these. And nowadays they're absolutely beautiful and he makes them for all the players. This is actually online only for Arcetes, but it still gets the general picture across of what these cards look like. The fans like them. They make them in other sports as well. But the question is, how much weighting do these cards have on who who actually gets signed to rosters for upcoming seasons. And the theory has been for some time that they're way more important than they should be. The top teams that are going to get the top players, they know who the top players are and they can sign them. The issue is when you're talking like the 6th team through to the 12th team range, a lot of those managers, general managers, either aren't so experienced, especially in the previous few years, don't really know what's going on, and look at Reddit, look at the Lionman Cards to figure out who's good, who's bad, who they should sign, especially when it's difficult to determine, and also when it's like, oh, do I get this Challengers player, or do I get this player, but this guy's card is a 75 and this guy's card is a 68, so clearly this guy is better than the other guy, and therefore I've got to sign him. And this is where you got to wonder, like, who are these decision makers and whether they're actually have got any idea what they're playing at here. So just to explain the way these cards work, because really people only look at the number in the top left here, right? And it's got to be generated somehow. There is an algorithm in place. Lionman doesn't just make up the numbers, they are generated by the stats. So Lionman doesn't choose the numbers, but the theory would be, could someone, you know, slip him $100 and pump their number up by a couple? Is anyone going to notice? Oh, just a mistake, guys. Sorry, you got an 80, not a 75, and all of a sudden you're getting picked up by a franchise team. So this is Clayster's card, for example, and the KDs aren't drastically different to Arcety's, but the number is way better. And this is because KD is effectively irrelevant on these cards, which I quite like personally. You could do these in many different ways. It's relevant for control because you've got kills and deaths both considered here, and I've explained the way these cards work before, but I'll just do it again. So you've got 3 different categories per mode. You've got kills per 10, kills per round, kills per 10 in all the modes. Then you've got hill time at first blood and deaths respectively, which are important for the respective modes, and then damage, right? Damage per 10, damage per round, damage per 10 in the modes. So you then get ranked, you get your number for what your stat was for the full season or for this particular stage or whatever, and that's your number that goes in this box here, and then that number is compared to every other player in your role, either as an AR or an SMG. You're compared to everybody else, and then you get ranked from, you know, the worst in that role to the best in that role. And if you're the best in your role at that stat, you get a 99. If you're the worst in your role at that stat, you get a 50, which Clay is for kills per 10 minutes in control, deaths per 10 minutes in control. Clay's the worst in the league as an AR. Like, he just dies way too many times theoretically, but he gets a decent amount of kills and he does a lot of damage. So, and then you get ranked. So Clayster is 87, 86, 86 in damage in the 3 modes. So he's in the like top 20 percentile of ARs doing damage. So he gets a pretty high rating there. So he gets an 87 here and 82 for kills per 10. And then the worst one in each of these modes is discounted, which makes sense because if you're pred and you're getting huge kills, huge damage, but are you going to get docked points because you're not getting in the hill? No, because that's not intended to do so, right? That's not your role on the team. So you discount the worst number. So Clay, for example, will get an 82 plus an 87, so whatever that averages out to be. Then the 85 will get discounted in the search, and the 50 will get kind of demoted or not considered in the control. You add up all the other numbers, you average them out, and you find that he's an 83 overall. That's how the calculation is done. But is it open to some degree of manipulation?
Who's getting dropped because of a V-Line, man?
This guy in my chat said Priestahh got dropped because of his scorecard, bro.
Bro, if anyone's taking those scorecards into serious account, like, bro, you are fucking tripping. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
I do know that there are some orgs that look at Reddit and those Lionman cards as like a very good indicator of how good players are.
Bro, those things
Isn't
are
that crazy?
Those things are literally the fake it, like, they don't even take into account like what you do for the team. If you like, some players are forced to play a slow ass role for your team, where it's like all those cards do is like, dude, there's
brother, if I wanted to drop a 1.2 every game, I could, like, easily. Yeah. I could, and you know, not play for the win. I could drop a 1.2 every single game, no matter what. If that was, if I wanted to, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Kill whore my ass off. Don't push in ever. Fucking don't play for the team at all. Yeah, I could do that. I could drop a 1.2. But like, will I ever? You know what I'm saying? Like, I would never do that.
Now, these player cards are cheese, bro. These player cards are cheese.
Fucking player cards.
Why?
Bro.
Why? We
They've
know
always
that 6
been
through
cheese,
12
Pat.
teams
They've
are looking
always
at player
been cheese.
cards. I know that, but we know for a fact that these 6 through 12 teams are looking at player cards.
Mean we should,
and
bro.
Reddit. Why
Doesn't
would
mean we should.
why we're
Nah, not all of them. There's
hypothetically
no way
trying
they're
to
all.
match what
There's
these
no way
guys are
they're all.
doing?
There's no
Alright,
way
so
they're looking at player cards like that. There's no way,
basically,
right?
what you're saying,
There's no
basically,
way.
They do, bro.
Now
They
the
do.
way,
There's definitely
dude,
people
the
that
way
do.
Pat's
I
making
know
this out,
Minnesota for sure looked at Reddit in 2019.
the way that
That's
Pat's making this
insane.
out,
Do y'all remember
confirm
when
it.
Goog
I can
didn't get on
confirm
our
it.
list because he got dropped from Reddit? Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I
Reddit
bro.
flamed him getting
Yes.
picked up, and then they
Bro,
didn't
the way
deal with it.
That's
Pat's
crazy.
making this out is if you're not an 80, bro, like on the player cards, that you're just getting subbed in for an unknown challenger.
Yo,
Like
if I'm
Vanity.
one of these players, bro, I'm siding Lionman some bucks to raise
Bro,
my score.
The thing is, it's not just
No way.
not to go too off topic, but like Ford and I were talking about this on
Yeah,
Twitter
that's
earlier.
crazy.
Like there are players.
Lionman could
There are
finesse.
players in the CDL and even prior to CDL when Lyman started doing cards in the CWL era, they were building teams off of player cards, and I think that is crazy.
I know. That's what I'm
That
saying.
is crazy to me.
Yo,
actually,
is he
yo,
starting a business play or
hold
what?
on. Lionman, hit me up, bro. We'll get incorporated
Pat's
tomorrow.
always trying to do some business or some shit.
Wait, bro, you're telling me, like, bro,
I mean,
if these guys
yeah,
are getting
bro.
these contracts,
Listen,
and we know
I'd
their
slip
player
him
cards
100, Pat. I'd
influence.
slip him 100.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
You tweak the algorithm a little bit, give him a few more points.
So Clayster and aBeZy have both made the point there that in previous years, teams have definitely made decisions off these Lionman cards and what people have said on Reddit. And what's to say they don't still do so, some of these guys? The cards are probably more prevalent than ever, to be honest. We've seen them over the previous years, but Lionman makes a lot of these now. People love them. Like, people always talk about them, and they're like a big thing in the community. And someone's always going to make these. If Lionman decided to call it a day and not make these anymore, someone else would do something similar. They happen in all sports around the world, and people get their ratings. Whether you think the rating system is fair or not, that of course is a debate, and you guys feel free to, give your perspective on how the rating system could be done better. But at the end of the day, guys like Priestahh are going to get, 79 roughly, because he's on a roster with a lot of other great guys. There isn't that many kills or damage or whatever to go around anymore. So, he's going to struggle to get massive numbers in the same way that Arcetes, when he was on FaZe, or even Slasher when he was on FaZe this year, doesn't get crazy numbers. But, Slasher got like a 74 overall, I think, online. But people obviously know that he can be better than a 74 rated player on a different team. It was just the team he was on led that to be the situation, right? So I'm not sure what Slasher's overall numbers here, actually. We can probably find him. Okay, he was a 78 here, actually. But, I mean, still, like, Slasher can definitely be better than that. So if you're a top team, you kind of know what's going on, I think. But when it comes down to, let's say, even the Minnesota Rokkrs of the moment, or the other teams in that category, maybe not so much the Florida Mutineers, but Seattle Surgeons, certainly when you get down to like London and Vegas and these teams, then do they say, well, let's have a look at some of these guys. Hook's a 78, but Fellow, I mean, if you're in the 60s, it might just be chalked, you know what I mean? Like, Hixie's a 66, and people know that Hixie can be better than that, and I think he was more impactful than what that rating suggests, because it's only stats at the end of the day, and it doesn't take into account the entire picture. Fundamentally, the best players will get at the top. I mean, if you look at the top 10, everyone that's a 90 and above is in the position to probably deserve it. But if you're like a Major Maniac or a 2-Real or an Exceed or one of these players that's in the 60s, like, it is, it doesn't look good, even though it shouldn't really be relevant at all. It's about which player can actually fit your system well. And this is why you get the whole thing of the players playing for their Lionman cards. And I think it does happen. On certain teams, it does happen. I mean, Donnie's sitting here with an 89. I'm not saying he played for his Lionman card. I think he has in previous seasons. This season, I don't actually think he did. I think he was just a pretty good player, to be honest. But still, like, Donnie at 89 overall looks pretty spectacular. If you're a 67 overall, like Fellow, it ain't looking so good. So maybe there's an argument that Fellow should have played a bit more for kills, get into the 70s and at least look respectable. It shouldn't be a conversation we have to have, but it is nonetheless a conversation that is relevant, it seems, when it comes to building these rosters. And aBeZy reckons that, yeah, slip Lionman, $100 or whatever, get him to bump your number up, and you got a better chance to get on a franchise team. So I don't know what you guys think about this, but the name that was mentioned specifically was Minnesota Rokkr in 2019 when they were initially forming their rosters, I suppose, and making roster decisions. They apparently used Lionman cards then to determine what was going on, and that's very arguable that teams still make similar decisions in that way today. Lionman says, no, there's no chance chance this is going to happen. I'm not going to get paid to manipulate this in any way. And, you know, and if people would be able to figure out if he was, let's be honest, because we know how the calculation is theoretically done. And I don't think he would do that. But still, and I don't think pros would really try and get that to happen. What they will do instead is just play for kills more instead of slipping, you know, Lionman a bit of money to make it happen. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. Very much intrigued to your perspective in the comment section below. Do you think we're going to see any rosters formed by, you know, Gorillas or some of these other teams that represent Lionman building cards? Because this might be why, and I think it was the point that was made there, right? If you're lower than an 80 card rating, just get a Challengers player instead. And that seems to be the theory, right? If you get, like, you know, the number is not green, it's yellow, like, it doesn't look so good. Or certainly if it's red, if it's in the 60s, it doesn't look so good either. So teams would apparently prefer, especially on that level, to just get a Challenger player in at God or X or Gwyn or whatever, maybe bring back Gunless, rather than go for a player that's in the 70s, even if that's a completely irrelevant number theoretically. And we all know it, but, you know, the halo effect of that, if you guys know about that term, definitely carries over. So very much intrigued to hear your thoughts. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.